Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on our Friday afternoon iGyro training sessions. This afternoon, I'm going to go through how to create business contacts and explain to you where they might be used throughout the software. So to begin with, the business contacts tab here, or I should say business contact module, is where you'll enter the majority of your business contacts. And this is a quick way to look up your contacts as well. So if we click into this business contacts module, you'll see there's a grid on this left-hand side here, and this is all of your business contacts. All right, so as you click on a business contact, you'll notice the details on the right-hand side changes, and there's various tabs relating to that business. So here we've selected Actron Air, and you'll see here that we've actually got 3 employees that work with Actron Air, and you'll see them in the tabs here. 1, 2, 3. Now, it's worth pointing out here that we've got our Actron Air. It looks like there's 3 different businesses set up here, but in actual fact, this is one company with 3 employees. So if we make a change to this business here, like a change to the name of the Actron Air, it's actually changing all of these. So for example, if we just put an X at the end of that business name and save that, we refresh our list, what we'll find is it's updated all 3 of those. So it's important to keep that in mind, especially if you think you're deleting a single business contact here. If you hit this delete button, you'll actually delete all 3 of these contacts. So only do that in very rare circumstances. So if you did want to delete one, probably a better way to do that is actually archive it instead. It's not a permanent delete. You can hit archive and it will just hide your business contact away. So if we tick archived and save that, see when we refresh that grid here that Actron Air has disappeared altogether, but we can easily get it back just by ticking this show archived tick box. I stand corrected, it hasn't shown back up again. That's a failure. Let's just put it to the end of the list there. So I've searched for that. I had to have this show archive tick box ticked. So we'll unarchive that and we'll get rid of that X and save. Refresh that list and everything's back in place. All right, so if you want to delete just one employee out, you can come into here and just delete their name out. What we like to do is, rather than deleting something because they might be attached in other places in the software, you might just put an X in the name just to indicate to everyone that they're no longer working at that business. All right, we jump back to the main organization details here. We'll just run through what's available. So we've got our company name here. So we've got our Actron Air. This supplier code here is created by default for you as you're creating a company. And it doesn't have a great deal of use within the Gyro software. Its primary function is to actually help you link with other systems. So you might have an estimating package that has some sort of a supplier code. This will help you link Gyro business contacts with that estimating package. Most of these details are pretty self-explanatory. GST, archived, which you just went through, ABN, ACN, some license numbers. Here we've just got a few special fields for industry and trade. And what you'll notice here, this industry and trade, you'll see there's some columns here in this grid here that show that detail depending on what you've selected in these drop downs. So a use for that might be you might categorize a lot of your business contacts as suppliers. You might have some in there as subcontractors. So if you type in subcontractor, oops, it'll limit your list down to just your subcontractors. You might be looking for a fencer. You could type that in. Or or a landscaper, and that's based off this trade field. So if you categorize some of your contacts as concreters, you'd be able to search for concreters as well. Now, another option here, sorry, in this one here, we've got consent authority. So within iGyro, there's consent authorities, and you can set up consent authority loading for pricing and estimating. So that's a topic for another video session. But to create a consent authority in your Gyro application, you'd actually just select this option here for consent authority. And when you save that, I'll just reload that company, you get an extra tab here for suppliers. So this is used for your quoting categories. So when you're sending out quotes to all your suppliers for a new job, this is where you would build that up. So along with that, we also get this consent authority loading, which by default is set to 1, but you might want a 1.1 or even less, or 0.9. So this won't mean a great deal to you at the moment, but another training session will go through how to estimate and make use of this loading. So the key takeaway here is just remembering how to create your own consent authority just by using this drop down. All right, so the physical address and the postal address details should be pretty self-explanatory. And we've got contact details here. So just like every other section for personal contacts, you can add various contact details like this. So we'll add an email. Now, important to note that these contact details are for the organisation itself. So this might be their main office number or their main office contact. And of course, when you put some details in here, if they happen to have a mobile number as a main contact, you'll get these buttons here to either email, or if you select the mobile, you can SMS. All right, so we've got 3 employees here. We wanted to add a new one. We've just hit the blue plus button. And you can type the first and last name here in this grid or over on this right-hand side here. So most of these details will be pretty self-explanatory again. Excuse me. And this default contact type here is when you're adding a business contact to a job, which we'll go through in just a moment, this is the default contact type that it will use. So just for example's sake, we'll say that Tim is an engineer. So we'll save that and we'll see how that works a little bit later on. So we've got, again, we've got our contact details. So as you're selecting an employee here, these contact details change. So everything on this right-hand side relates to the person you clicked here. All right, the annual leave section here is primarily for project managers in your system. So if you put some annual leave in there, you can make use of that calculation when you're working out anticipated completion dates for jobs. All right, this lending requirements tab is mainly for banking institutions. So if we've set that up as a financial institution, we can add some rules in here. So this is just for the financial aspects of a job, which we'll go through in another training session. But this is where you build the details up. So your lender might require the HOW insurance, might require workers' comp, or a final occupation certificate before progress payments are made. And this is how you control that. Alrighty, so to create a brand new company, so we've just gone through how to create an employee on an existing company. To create a new one, you'll click this new company button at the top right-hand corner, and you'll get this little window here. So again, just skip straight past that supplier code. That'll be built up by default for you, and again, doesn't really mean a great deal for you in terms of Gyro's usage. But if we just type a new company in, you'll see that that supply code is built up for you. Okay, we've got our company details and we can fill all of that in. And what you also might like to do is put a new employee in. So I'll pop the first one in. And again, you can add some details. And save that one. Now on this company, there's also attachments. So if you've got various attachments that you'd like to store against a company, you can do so here. We go to the attachments tab, and this is the same as the attachments tab on a job. So you can just hit the attachment button to attach a file or drag and drop a file into here. All right, we're finished in this business contact module here. So if we go back home and we'll go into jobs. And this is where some people can get confused. We've got business contacts, or the business contacts tab here, which is named exactly the same as the business contacts module. So when we're talking about the business contacts tab, we're talking about coming to this tab here on a particular job. And these are the business contacts that are listed against that job. So it's important to realize here that these are just a link to your business contacts that you've already entered in your business contact module. So if we want to add a new person, we can search the existing contacts and select the one that we're after and hit OK. And you'll notice here that as you're adding it, we've got a contacts role. So this is the default contacts role we set up for this person. Came in as an engineer. So I'll just remind you where that is in business contacts. So we go to that employee. You'll see here we've got our default contact type. So we set that to engineer. So we can change that anytime we like, and whenever we use that person, they'll use that new default contact type. So we change that person to a referrer now. And we'll add Tim back in again. It's now coming as a referrer. All right, so what can happen sometimes too is you've added the same person in, they usually have the same role because that's their default. So if we change that to engineer and you've accidentally added them in like this, you'll get these little exclamation marks saying you cannot save this job. So you cannot have a duplicate role in here. You can't have two engineers. So you either delete one of them or you may want that same person to fill a different role on this job. So it might be the engineer as well as the project manager. And that'll correct the problem. All right, so that's just selecting an existing person. Now, if we click that plus button again. So it's important to note here that we're attaching a person, not the company. So there needs to be an employee on that business for you to find them in here and attach them. So you can also create a new contact on the fly if it doesn't exist for you in the search field. So you can create a brand new company here, or you can use an existing company. And what we would do is find our company that we're interested in. And we're creating a new employee for that company here. Tim test 2, you can put some details in and hit OK. All right, so we'll just go back to business contacts and we'll take a look at that again. Sorry, I added that to the test company. So here's that new person that we've created. So that new person, you created it on the fly for that job, but it's actually been added into your business contacts module and can be used at a future date on any part or any job. All right, to delete someone off here, you just select that, make the row go orange, and click on the Remove Contact button. All right, so you don't need to attach someone for every single one of these roles. It's only the most important roles that you're interested in as a business. So Probably the main reason why you put that there is just for a quick reference. So if you have multiple project managers, you know who the project manager is on that job. You might have a client liaison, you might have a few of those in your business, or a few different color consultants. So you can easily have a reference point on who to contact. But a lot of the on-site type trades, you probably don't want them in here. You would add them in your site schedule. So we've gone through this in a previous video, where if you double click one of your tasks on the site schedule, you can find the business contact here. All right, here's that new test contact that we created a few minutes ago. You'll see it populates all the information. All right, so that business contact is now associated with this particular task. All right, another reason why you might add someone in this business contacts tab is to send out notifications. So you might progress through a task list, you get to the point where you're requesting engineering for a particular job. You might have multiple engineers, and you can set up notifications to automatically email the correct engineer. So we have gone through that in another video as well. So under admin, there's notifications. And this is the business contact section I'm talking about here. So this rule here is saying after the 5% deposit has been paid, to notify the estimator. Okay, and you'd make sure it goes to the right estimator by making sure that you assign the estimator in this business contacts tab. So if we wanted Tim to be the estimator on here, we would make sure we add the estimator on the business contacts tab. All right, so another section we might use business contacts is in our quote requests. So we'll use consent authorities to build up a template to use. But you can also add individual quote requests, and you would search for a company here. Alrighty, so this is the email module. So this works well with our quote requests and orders. You can also send one-off emails. But the thing to note here is when you're creating a new email, no matter what you're using it for, you've got your to box here, and all of your email addresses that are part of your business contacts will also be available here as a quick select. So if we type something in here, it'll give us all these options. All right, so that's about all there is to business contacts. So if there's any questions, please let me know by email after the fact, or type in the question box while we're live, and we'll see if we can answer those. But if we've got no questions, we'll see you all again next week. Thanks for joining.